My grandma Patricia, Patty, to those blessed enough to know her, was my universe. The silence in her house now feels wrong, like a song missing its melody. Sometimes I catch myself reaching for the phone to call her, forgetting for a heartbeat that she's gone. But even after her passing, Grandma had one final surprise to share, one that would change my life forever. Rise and shine, sweet pea. The memory of her voice still echoes in my mind, warm as summer sunshine. Every morning of my childhood started this way. Grandma Patty would gently brush my hair, humming old songs she claimed her mother taught her. My wild child, she'd laugh, working through the tangles. Just like I was at your age. Tell me about when you were little, Grandma, I'd beg, sitting cross-legged on her faded bathroom rug. Well, she'd begin, her eyes twinkling in the mirror. I once put frogs in my teacher's desk drawer. Can you imagine? You didn't. Oh, I did. And you know what my mother said when she found out? What? Patricia, even the toughest hearts can be softened, even by the smallest act of kindness. And? I stopped catching those poor frogs again. Those morning rituals shaped me, her wisdom wrapped in stories and gentle touches. One morning, as she braided my hair, I noticed tears in her eyes through the mirror. What's wrong, Grandma? She smiled that tender smile of hers, fingers never pausing in their work. Nothing's wrong, sweet pea. Sometimes love just spills over, like a cup full of sunshine. Our walks to elementary school were adventures disguised as ordinary moments. Grandma transformed every block into a new world. Quick, Haley, she'd whisper, pulling me behind Mrs. Freddy's maple tree. The sidewalk pirates are coming. I'd giggle, playing along. What do we do? We say the magic words, of course. She'd grip my hand tight. Safety, family, love, the 3 words that scare away any pirate. One rainy morning, I noticed her limping slightly but trying to hide it. Grandma, your knee is hurting again, isn't it? She squeezed my hand. A little rain can't stop our adventures, my love. Besides, she winked, though I could see the pain in her eyes. What's a little discomfort compared to making memories with my favorite person in the whole wide world? Years later, I realized those weren't just words. She was teaching me about courage, finding magic in mundane moments, and facing fears with family by your side. Even during my rebellious teenage phase, when I thought I was too cool for family traditions, Grandma knew exactly how to reach me. So, she said one evening when I came home late, makeup smeared from crying over my first breakup. Would this be a hot chocolate with extra marshmallows kind of night or a secret recipe cookie dough moment? Both. I managed through tears. She pulled me into her kitchen, the one place where every problem seemed solvable. You know what my grandmother told me about heartbreak? What? She said hearts are like cookies. They might crack sometimes, but with the right ingredients and enough warmth, they always come back stronger. She set down the measuring cup and took my hands in hers, flour dusting both our fingers. But you know what she didn't tell me? That watching your granddaughter hurt is like feeling your own heart shatter twice over. I'd take all your pain if I could, sweet pea. When I brought my fiancé Ronaldo home at 28, Grandma was waiting in her signature spot, knitting needles clicking like time itself was being woven. So, she said, setting aside a half-finished scarf, this is the young man who's made my Haley's eyes sparkle. Mrs. Ronaldo started. Just Patricia, she corrected, studying him over her reading glasses. Or Patty, if you earn it. Grandma, please be nice, I pleaded. Haley, dear, would you mind making us some of your grandfather's special hot chocolate? The recipe I taught you? I know what you're doing, I warned. Good, she winked. Then you know how important this is. When I left them alone to make the hot chocolate, I lingered in the kitchen, straining to hear their muffled voices from the living room. A full hour passed before I returned, finding them in what seemed like the tail end of an intense conversation. Ronaldo's eyes were red-rimmed, and Grandma was holding his hands in hers, the way she always held mine when imparting her most important lessons. He looked as though he'd been through an emotional marathon, but there was something else in his eyes. Fear. And joy. What did you two talk about? I asked him later that night. I made her a promise. A sacred one. I understood what that conversation must have been like. Grandma was probably making sure the man I was bound to marry understood the depth of that commitment. She wasn't just being a protective grandmother, she was passing on her legacy of fierce, intentional love. Then one day, her diagnosis came like a thunderclap. Aggressive pancreatic cancer. Weeks, maybe months. I spent every moment I could at the hospital, watching machines track her heartbeat like Morse code signals to heaven. She kept her humor, even then. Look at all this attention, sweet pea. If I'd known hospital food was this good, I'd have gotten sick years ago. Stop it, Grandma, I whispered, arranging her pillows. You're going to beat this. Sweetie, some battles aren't meant to be won. They're meant to be understood. And accepted. One evening, as sunset painted her hospital room in gold, she gripped my hand with surprising strength. I need you to promise me something, love. Will you? She whispered. Anything. 1 year after I'm gone, clean my photo on the headstone. Just you. Promise me. Grandma, please don't talk like that. You'll be around longer. I'll not let anything happen to. Promise me, sweet pea. One last adventure together. I nodded through tears. I promise. She smiled, touching my cheek. My brave girl. Remember, real love never ends. Even after death. It just changes shape, like light through a prism. She slipped away that very night, taking the colors of my world with her. I visited her grave every Sunday, rain or sunshine. Sometimes I brought flowers. Sometimes just stories. The weight of her absence felt heavier than the bouquets I carried. Grandma, Ronaldo, and I set a date, I told her gravestone one spring morning. A garden wedding, like you always said would suit me. I'll wear your pearl earrings if Mom agrees. You know, last night, I'd woken up at 3 a.m., the exact time you used to bake when you couldn't sleep. For a moment, I swore I could smell cinnamon and vanilla wafting through my apartment. I stumbled to the kitchen, half expecting to find you there, humming and measuring ingredients by memory. But other times, I'd sit silently, watching cardinals flit between trees, remembering how you claimed they carried messages from heaven, Grandma. Some days, the grief would ambush me in the most ordinary moments. Like reaching for your cookie recipe and recognizing your handwriting. Or finding one of your bobby pins behind the bathroom radiator. I'd hold it like a precious artifact from a lost civilization. I miss you, Grandma. I miss you so much, I confessed, my eye fixed on her tomb. The house still smells like your perfume. I can't bring myself to wash your favorite sweater. Is that crazy? Yesterday, I put it on and sat in your chair, trying to feel close to you. I keep expecting to hear your key in the door, or your laugh from the garden. Mom says time helps, but every morning I wake up and have to remember all over again that you're gone. A cardinal landed nearby, its red feathers bright against the gray headstone. I could almost hear Grandma's voice. Crazy is just another word for loving deeply, sweet pea. A year later, I stood before her grave, cleaning supplies in hand. It was time to fulfill my promise. Armed with a screwdriver, I unscrewed the weathered brass photo frame. When I removed it, I was shaken to my core. Oh my God. This can't be. I gasped, leaning closer. Behind the photo lay a note, written in Grandma's distinctive cursive. My dearest sweet pea. One last treasure hunt together. Remember all those times we searched for magic in ordinary places? Here's where you'll discover our biggest secret. Find the hiding spot in the woods at these coordinates. Beneath the note was a string of numbers and a tiny heart drawn in the corner, just like she used to sketch on all my lunch napkins. My hands trembled as I entered the numbers into Google Maps. The location pointed to a spot in the woods nearby, where she used to take me to collect autumn leaves for her pressed flower albums. I carefully wiped her photo, my fingers lingering on her familiar smile, before cleaning the glass and securing it back in place. The drive to the woods felt both eternal and too quick, my heart keeping time with the rhythm of the windshield wipers in the light drizzle. At the woods entrance, I pulled out her note one last time. There, at the bottom, in writing so small I almost missed it, like she was whispering one last secret, were the words. Look for the survey post with the crooked cap, Sweet Pea. The one where we used to leave notes for the fairies. I remembered it instantly, a waist-high metal post we discovered on one of our magical expeditions, when I was 7. She'd convinced me it was a fairy post office. I grabbed a small spade from my car and carefully dug the soil around the post. The metallic clank that followed sent my heart racing. There, nestled in the dark earth like a buried star, lay a small copper box, its surface turned turquoise with age. I lifted it as gently as if I were holding one of Grandma's teacups, and when the lid creaked open, her familiar lavender scent wafted up with the letter inside. The paper trembled in my hands as I unfolded it, her handwriting dancing across the page like a final embrace. My darlings. Some truths take time to ripen, like the best fruit in the garden. Elizabeth, my precious daughter, I chose you when you were just 6 months old. Your tiny fingers wrapped around mine that first day at the orphanage, and in that moment, my heart grew wings. And through you, I got to choose Haley too. Sweet Pea, I've carried this secret like a stone in my heart, afraid that the truth might dim the light in your eyes when you looked at me. But love isn't in our blood, it's in the 1,000 little moments we chose each other. It's in every story, every cookie baked at midnight, every braided hair, and wiped tear. Blood makes relatives, but choice makes family. And I chose you both, every single day of my life. If there's any forgiveness needed, let it be for my fear of losing your love. But know this, you were never just my daughter and granddaughter. You were my heart, beating outside my chest. All my love, always. Grandma Patty. P.S. Sweet Pea, remember what I told you about real love? It never ends, it just changes shape. Mom was in her studio when I arrived home, paintbrush frozen mid-stroke. She read Grandma's letter twice, tears making watercolor rivers down her cheeks. I found my original birth certificate when I was 23, she confessed. In the attic, while helping your grandma organize old papers. Why didn't you say anything? Mom smiled, touching Grandma's signature. Because I watched her love you, Haley. I saw how she poured every drop of herself into being your grandmother. How could biology compete with that kind of choice? I gently brushed the sapphire ring from the box, one Grandma had left me along with her final letter. Outside, a cardinal landed on the windowsill, bright as a flame against the evening sky. She chose us, I whispered. Mom nodded. Every single day. Now, years later, I still catch glimpses of Grandma everywhere. In the way I fold towels into perfect thirds, just as she taught me. In how I unconsciously hum her favorite songs while gardening. And in the little phrases I say to my children. Sometimes, when I'm baking late at night, I feel her presence so strongly I have to turn around, half expecting to see her sitting at the kitchen table, reading glasses perched on her nose, completing her crossword puzzle. The empty chair still catches me off guard, but now it carries a different kind of ache, not just loss, but gratitude. Gratitude for every moment, every lesson, and every story she shared. Because Grandma Patty didn't just teach me about family. She showed me how to build one, how to choose one, and how to love one deeply enough that it transcends everything, even death itself. Write in the comments what would you have done and subscribe to our channel D-Damn Mix.